Hey guys, today we are going to talk about the bad body image spiral. I think that if you're somebody who has struggled with the way you look at yourself or the way you talk to yourself, you have experienced the days where you have something that just makes you feel horrible about yourself, and then you spiral out of control, and at the end of the spiral you are feeling much worse about yourself than before it started. And I think we've definitely all been there. We've had days where we pick ourselves apart even more, or we talk bad about our bodies, and that can just make us feel horrible and make us feel sad and depressed about us not being where we think we should be compared to other people. So today we are going to talk about it. So, how does the spiral start? Well, the spiral starts by having bad body image triggers. These triggers can be, looking at yourself in the mirror and picking yourself apart. How your clothes fit. Maybe you put on an outfit and then for some reason you don't like the way you look. So you start picking apart your legs, your arms, your body, your belly. Whatever area you struggle with the most, that's the area you focus on. Or maybe you bought yourself a new outfit or a new dress and you put it on for the first time, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I bought that. Why did I think I could pull that off? Or it could be something from social media. I think a lot of times we don't realize that we are following people that we might get inspiration from or motivation from at some times, but those could also be the people that make us feel worse about ourselves. The accounts that, are workout accounts, our healthy eating accounts, are, maybe it's simply people that you follow who post pictures of themselves in these outfits that you wish you could wear and feel that confident in. And I think there's a lot of times that in that moment, when you're scrolling, you may see something that automatically doesn't trigger you, but then later on when you look at yourself in the mirror or you put an outfit on, that can all of a sudden put that thought in your head that makes you start going down that road of why, I hate my body, why can't I look like those people? What is wrong with me? Oh, look at these arms or these legs or the stomach. It grosses me out. And it's that tiny little thought, that tiny little trigger that can make you start to spiral. And then that can lead to the start of negative self-talk, talking down to yourself, picking your body apart, talking bad about your body. So first you have the trigger, then that leads you to negatively talking about yourself, which can just make you feel worse. I think that's the biggest thing that starts a spiral is, yes, we can be triggered by that one thing, but then it's the way we talk about ourselves and the things we say about our body that can just make us feel horrible. And then that can start to make you have feelings of shame or inadequacy. You feel like you've done something wrong or that you've failed yourself. You have painful emotions about your body and how you feel about it. Maybe you feel shame about the things you've been eating or the different workouts that you've been trying. Having inadequacy is like having a feeling of failure or that you're feeling or that you're lacking something. And I think that can also come from following people on social media when you feel like you should be where they're at, or maybe you've been trying to eat like them and work out like them, but your body just doesn't look like theirs. And that can just make you feel like you're failing yourself and you're failing your body, and just can make you ultimately feel worse about yourself than, if you were just able to accept that your body is different and you maybe have to try some different eating pattern or some different workout that's going to work for you. But in that moment, you just feel shameful about your body and the way it looks, and it can just make you feel horrible. And then that can lead you to the urge to isolate or compensate. So, it can start, you cancel plans or you make up excuses of why all of a sudden you can't go out. Or maybe I just don't feel good. Maybe I'll just stay home. And then instead of wearing that outfit that you want to wear and or that dress that you wanted to wear because you're really excited to wear it, you get undressed and you get in comfortable clothes because you're like, you know what, I'm just going to wear these baggy clothes to cover up my body because nobody wants to see it anyways and it's going to gross people out. And to compensate, two, you might also, start changing your eating habits, changing the way you work out. Maybe instead of working out for 20 minutes, now you're working out for an hour. Or instead of, eating these foods that bring you joy and happiness, you start eating all these fruits and these veggies and these, things that don't taste good, but you're doing it because you're like, I need to do these things to look this certain way. And at the end of the spiral, it can lead to having anxiety and just feeling hopelessness. It can start to lead to depression because now you're really sad about how you feel about your body and the things that you're saying about yourself, and that just keeps making you feel worse about yourself. And now you might have anxiety about every outfit you put on going forward, or these future events or parties or celebrations that you have to go to, because you feel like all you're going to be focusing on is the way your body looks. And I definitely think that we've all been there when we've had something that triggers us and then we still decide to go out and we still decide to go out with friends or go to this party or this gathering, and then the whole time we're there, all we're thinking about is the way our body looks in that outfit. And we're still continuously picking ourselves apart. And then that can make you have social anxiety because now you're scared that other people are seeing it or that other people are commenting on it. And it can just make you be really in your own head. So you're not ever enjoying the moment that you're in because you're so concerned about yourself and about your body. And I think that it can just make you feel, again, horrible about yourself because you want to be present in those moments and you want to enjoy that time, but you simply can't because of the way you feel about yourself. So now that we have established what a bad body image spiral can look like, you might be asking yourself, well, how do I stop the spiral from happening in the first place? And I think it's important to know that the goal is not to never have bad body image days, because let's be honest, no matter how much we try and how much we, practice this, I still think we're going to have days where we just feel icky about ourselves, and that's okay because it's just a part of life. And I've recently talked about, this in normalizing bad body image days because it is just something that I think is a part of how you look at yourself sometimes. And I think that even people that don't struggle with it still have those days where they pick themselves apart. Maybe they don't spiral like we do, but it's still just a part of life and it's something that's going to happen. But I think the goal is to slow the spiral. So how do we, either stop the spiral from happening, or how do we slow the spiral down? And I think that ultimately starts with the thing that triggers you. That trigger that puts that initial thought in your head that makes you, again, go to the negative self-talk, to feel the shame, to isolate, and then to feel ultimately hopeless about ourselves. And I think that for every single person, it's going to be something different. I know that for me, it was for a long time looking at myself in the mirror. I would, go to do my hair or go to do my makeup, or I would put an outfit on and look at myself in the mirror, and automatically I was pinpointing those areas on my body that I did not like. And automatically that would trigger me to feel horrible about myself, and then I would start the negative self-talk, and down the spiral I will go. So I think that for every individual person, you have to identify what is that trigger for me that makes me start to spiral, that makes me start to talk horrible about myself. And then once you can pinpoint that trigger, it'll be easier to not go down the spiral. And maybe at some point you won't realize that you're being triggered. But I think that the moment that you start having that negative self-talk about yourself, about your body, I think in that moment there's your aha. Okay, now what was that triggered me? What was that thing that put that thought in my head to make me start talking to myself about that? And I think that once you can start to pinpoint those triggers, you can, put in that defense line to say, what am I going to do to prevent those triggers? Like for me, for a while, it wasn't looking at myself in the mirror when I put an outfit on. Because if I put an outfit on and I felt good about myself and I knew I was going to look in the mirror and feel horrible about myself or pick myself apart, I just wasn't doing it. Or maybe it's unfollowing certain people on social media or quieting their feed for a while, because you know that if you see them post about how good they're eating or how good their body looks after a workout or how good they feel, that's going to trigger you. So maybe again, you unfollow them and you start following people that are talking about their bad days or how they're helping themselves get through those days, or what they're doing for themselves to make themselves feel better. Or again, maybe you just quiet their page for a while. And then when you feel like you're in a better place to consume their content, you turn it back on. Because I think there are people that we like to follow, but some of their stuff can just make us feel bad about ourselves. So maybe it's just that moment to say, okay, right now I can't consume that type of content, so I'm going to kind of quiet your page. Or, I think there's a way to do that on Instagram, and then when you're ready, you can have it come back up. And I think that, again, if you have something that triggers you that in that moment you don't realize is triggering you, the second defense would be realizing you're doing that negative self-talk and kind of stopping yourself and saying, okay, I'm doing it again. I'm talking bad about myself and my body, and I told myself we weren't going to do that. So again, that's kind of backtracking, saying, okay, what was that thing that triggered me? And again, once you're able to find those triggers for yourself, the easier it's going to be to put up that defense mechanism or that building blocks for yourself to say, okay, what am I going to do for myself if this triggers me? And again, like I said, for me, it was putting outfits on and not looking at myself in the mirror. So once you're able to put that into place, the easier it's going to be to slow the spirals from happening or to prevent them from happening in the first place. Because I know that we've all been there. We've had really bad body image days and the spiral hits super hard, and the next thing we know, we're putting on comfy clothes, canceling those plans, crawling into bed and feeling horrible about ourselves. And I think that too, I've noticed that sometimes when you're in that mindset, for some of us, we start just eating junk food because we're in the mindset of what doesn't matter anyways. And then that can also make you feel even worse about yourself, because now you're like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I ate that. Why would I do that? Why would I put my body through that? Now I'm backpedaling and it's going to take me forever to get where I was in my progression and my workouts or eating healthy. And again, it's all part of the spiral. So I think that, again, hitting and starting with what those triggers are can help you from, going from the negative self-talk to feeling shameful to the, feeling those urge of isolation or compensating for yourself. And then of course, at the end of it, it's just going to leave you feeling anxious, depressed, hopeless about yourself. And I don't want us to feel like that. I want us to know that having bad body image days is normal. It's gonna happen. And again, no matter how much we practice, no matter how much we try to stop it, sometimes it just gets through. But I think that if we can put those, thoughts into place to help us to recognize those triggers or to recognize when this negative self-talk starts, then we can prevent ourselves from spiraling even more. I'm not going to say you're not going to have days that you're not going to spiral, because it's just going to happen. But I think that if you have those days that you do spiral, it's good to backtrack again to what initially triggered you to feel that way, and again to put in those steps into place of in the future how, if that trigger comes up, you're going to do these things in order not to make yourself spiral. And I think the more that we do that, the easier it'll become to not have that thing trigger us. Again, you figure out what the trigger is, and then you figure out how to not be triggered by it. And once we're able to do that, the easier it's going to be for the spirals to not happen at all. Again, the goal is not to never have a bad body image day. The goal is to slow the spiral from happening. And once we can do that, and once we can recognize that sometimes the spiral is just going to happen, then the easier it's going to be for us to realize that it's okay to spiral. It's okay to have bad body image days, and it's okay to move forward from that. Like, we don't have to sit in it. We don't have to feel bad about ourselves for the things we did in the spiral or the things we didn't do, because we're humans, and sometimes we just feel bad about ourselves or we talk negative about ourselves, and I think that's okay. It's those steps that we put in place to make sure that those triggers and those bad body image days don't affect us in the long run. It happens, we let it go, and we move forward. So I hope that today maybe you didn't realize what, a bad body image spiral is. Maybe you didn't realize that these 5 things happen in a row and it's happened to you. And just maybe this can help you, start with figuring out what triggers you, and then that can help you move forward in a healthier way with how you talk about yourself and how you see your body. Because I know for me, this took a lot of practice. But once I was able to pinpoint those things that made me feel worse about myself, and to say, okay, these are the things I'm going to do not to have that trigger, then there's been less days where I've let myself spiral. I've definitely had days I've spiraled, but I'm less likely to go down the spiral if I'm able to catch myself in that moment, realize what is making me feel bad about myself, and then kind of just move forward and say, I am not doing that. My body is fine the way it is. I am beautiful in every shape and size, and I have a different body than other people, and that's okay. What works for somebody else isn't necessarily going to work for me, and that's fine. Again, I think with going on a body image journey, you're finding it works for you. You're finding how you do things that make you feel better about yourself, the foods that make you feel good about yourself, the workouts that make you feel good about yourself, the positive things you can say to yourself to make you feel better. Everything is about what works for you. What works for other people, again, might not work for you. So find the things that work for you, and then continuously do that, and continuously grow, and continuously feel proud about your body and feel beautiful. Because I think a lot of times we don't. And I just want you to know that no matter where you're at, no matter what your body looks like, you are beautiful. And nobody can tell you otherwise. So thanks for letting me chat with you today, and hopefully you learned something that you might not have known, or maybe this helps you, again, identify the spirals and helps you, slow those spirals or prevent them in the future. So I will talk to you guys again real soon in the next vlog. Bye, guys.